Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take your sources and, well, really unearth the most surprising and vital insights.
That's the plan.
And today, we're plunging into a really profound collection of ancient texts. We're looking at the Buddhist suttas, and they offer this incredibly stark warning about something, honestly, many of us actively pursue: gain, honor, and praise.
Right. Things that sound pretty good on the surface.
Exactly. You'd think, what's wrong with that? But these texts, they paint a surprisingly chilling picture.
Indeed they do.
Yeah.
We're mainly drawing from a specific section within the suttas, often called the connected discourses on gain, honor, and praise.
Okay.
The original Pali term, just for context, is lābhasakkārasīloko. It's very focused.
Right.
And the core message, you see it again and again, is that this lābhasakkārasīloko, the gain, honor, praise, is, and this is a direct quote, cruel, bitter, harsh, and an obstacle to the unsurpassed security from bondage.
Wow. Cruel, bitter, harsh. That's incredibly strong language.
It really is. So our deep dive today is all about uncovering why. Why is it seen as so dangerous? And we'll look at some really vivid, memorable analogies they use.
Okay.
Our mission for you, listening in, is to unpack these ancient insights and figure out, well, what could they possibly mean for us right here, right now?
Sounds good. So let's start right there with that foundational warning, because it really is everywhere in these texts, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's pervasive.
Cruel, bitter, harsh, and an obstacle to the unsurpassed security from bondage. Let's unpack that last part first. What exactly is this unsurpassed security from bondage they're talking about?
Yeah, good question. In this context, it really points to a state of ultimate peace, liberation, profound well-being,
The ultimate goal.
kind of the highest spiritual attainment. Yeah. Complete freedom from suffering, freedom from all those internal attachments that, cause the suffering in the first place. And the texts are incredibly consistent on this point. The instruction is always, always to abandon gain, honor, and praise that has arisen. And crucially, make sure it will not overpower your mind.
Right. It's not about never experiencing them, maybe, but not letting them take control.
Precisely. Preventing them from grabbing the steering wheel of your inner state, so to speak.
That makes sense. And it feels like they knew this was maybe a bit abstract because they use these incredibly vivid images to make it tangible.
They really do. They're master storytellers in that sense.
So what's the first big analogy they bring out? Why start there?
Well, they start with perhaps the most direct, universally understood image of danger you can think of: the fishhook. Imagine, a deep pool, fisherman casts a line, bait on the hook. An unwary fish sees the bait, thinks lunch, and swallows it.
And then it's too late.
Exactly. Once hooked, that fish is completely at the fisherman's mercy. It's caught.
So in the analogy.
The bait is the gain, honor, and praise, lābhasakkārasīloko.
Mhm.
And the fisherman, that's Mara, the evil one.
Mara, representing temptation, defilement.
Yeah, basically a symbol for anything that leads us away from liberation, from that peace we were talking about. The fish, once it takes the bait, falls into, well, ruin and misfortune. It becomes completely subject to Mara's will.
It's a really stark image, instant capture.
Very immediate. No subtlety there.
It actually reminds me of another story you mentioned from the texts, maybe even more chilling. The one about the turtle.
Oh, yes, the turtle.
It gets warned, right, by an elder turtle, don't go to that dangerous spot.
But it goes anyway. Classic story, isn't it?
It is, and then it gets shot by a hunter who's also Mara, interestingly.
Yes, Mara again.
But the arrow is the gain, honor, and praise. And what's really unsettling is that there's a string attached to the arrow.
That's the key part.
And the string is craving, lust, attachment, and the elder's warning is just grim. Your ancestors fell prey this way too, like it's this generational trap.
Exactly. It's not just you, it's a pattern.
So how do those two, the fishhook and the turtle, connect for you?
Well, what's fascinating is they both show immediate peril, right? Take the bait, get shot, you're in trouble now. But the turtle story adds that really crucial element. The string, the craving. It highlights how this pursuit isn't just some external danger floating around. It's a subtle, persistent trap that's actually rooted in our own inner attachments, our own desires.
So we're kind of hooking ourselves in a way.
In a way, yes. Our own craving is the unseen string that makes us vulnerable to these things that look so desirable on the surface.
Okay, so the texts start with these like immediate dangers, but then it seems they describe something maybe more insidious, how this pursuit can actually entangle you, corrupt your character.
Yeah, it goes deeper. It's not just about getting caught. It's about what happens after you're caught, or even just by constantly seeking it.
You lose your way, your honesty even.
Exactly. And they have analogies for that too. What's the next big one that comes to mind?
Well, the one that struck me was the long-haired ram.
Ah, yes. The ram in the thorn bush. It's quite vivid.
Tell us about that one.
Okay, picture a ram, but it has this really long, thick wool, and it wanders, maybe carelessly, maybe just naturally, into a dense patch of thorn bushes.
Oh, I can see where this is going.
Everywhere it moves, right, it gets caught, tangled, bound up by the thorns. It leads to immense distress, and ultimately, the texts say, ruin.
And the comparison is?
It's compared to someone in the original context, often a monk, who becomes overpowered by gain, honor, and praise. When that person goes about their daily life, like seeking alms in a village.
Which is just a normal activity for them.
Right, a necessary part of their life. But because their mind is preoccupied with this gain and praise, they get caught up in mundane interactions, tangled in worldly concerns. They find themselves spiritually stuck, distressed. It shows how seeking that external validation can trip you up in just the ordinary moments.
It makes the spiritual path itself almost impossible. Just navigating daily life becomes a trap.
That's the implication, yes. It creates friction everywhere.
And then, maybe even more graphic, there's the analogy about the boastful maggot. It's almost blunt force trauma, that one.
It truly is. No subtlety there either. It describes, quite graphically, a maggot living in a huge pile of excrement.
Okay.
And this maggot
Yeah.
feels utterly superior to all the other maggots because, well, look at all the excrement it has access to. It's swimming in it.
Oh my goodness.
And this, the texts say, is like a person who's also overpowered by gain, honor, and praise. They boastfully proclaim how much they have possessions, recognition, opportunities, whatever it is.
And they look down on others.
Exactly. They disparage others who have less.
Ah.
And the text is crystal clear. This attitude, this boastfulness fueled by gain, leads directly to long-term harm and suffering for that individual.
It's a brutal image. Shows how that external stuff, when it fuels the ego, just fosters arrogance and destroys compassion.
Completely undermines integrity, yeah.
And speaking of integrity, that erosion goes even deeper. This next point from the text about truthfulness honestly shocked me when I read it.
It's one of the most powerful points, I think.
They talk about individuals who would never lie. I mean, absolutely never. Not for a bowl full of gold.
Not for 100 gold coins.
Not even if the entire earth were filled with gold, they wouldn't lie to save their own life.
Or for the most beautiful person in the land, the texts add. These are people with incredibly strong principles.
Rock-solid integrity. Yet
the texts observe, these very same people are seen to lie specifically when overpowered by gain, honor, and praise.
That's astounding. How does that work? Why does this specific thing break through that kind of integrity?
It's such a profound insight into human psychology, isn't it?
It's not
just an ancient warning. It feels very relevant now. The texts seem to be showing this deep vulnerability, this desire for external affirmation, for being liked, for being praised. It can somehow bypass our conscious ethical guards.
like a back door into compromising ourselves.
Sort of, yeah, without us even realizing it. Think about social media today, maybe, where the chase for likes, for validation can subtly shift how people present themselves. Maybe bend the truth a little.
Or in a work environment, needing approval might lead someone to, fudge the numbers on a report slightly.
Exactly that kind of thing. What the texts are saying is, even if you're someone who'd never steal money, this other craving, this need for approval, for that pat on the back, it can make you compromise your core principles almost unconsciously.
Wow. It's like a silent erosion.
A slow, quiet leak in your integrity, driven by wanting to be seen and praised. That's a really good way to put it.
It's just incredible that something seeming so benign can have such a deeply corrupting effect, and it doesn't stop there, does it? The texts also talk about deep internal damage. Restlessness, it goes way beyond just surface appearances or actions.
Oh, absolutely. It affects your inner state profoundly. There are a couple of really strong analogies for this internal corrosion.
Okay, what are they?
One describes how gain, honor, and praise metaphorically cut through you. First the skin, then the flesh, then the hide.
Deeper and deeper.
Then the sinews, then the bone, and finally it reaches the very bone marrow.
Goodness.
And they compare it to a strong person twisting a rope made of horsehair around your leg, just grinding it in tighter and deeper.
That's a visceral image of pain.
It really is. And the point is, this isn't just about external problems like losing friends or reputation. This is about deep, internal, painful spiritual damage. It suggests this pursuit can fundamentally break you from the inside out. It gets right to the core.
Cutting to the bone marrow. Yeah, that's disturbing. It suggests this deep internal decay. And maybe that leads into the next image, the one about the restless jackal. It sounds like it describes the feeling that comes from this internal damage.
Exactly. It connects the internal damage to the lived experience. Picture an old, sick jackal. It's got some kind of mange, maybe some persistent disease, and it just can't find peace anywhere.
Can't get comfortable.
No. It tries its den, its lair, no peace. It goes out under a tree, still suffering. It tries the open air. Nope, still restless, still in pain. Wherever it goes, it suffers.
And that's like the person chasing gain and honor.
It mirrors, the texts say, a person again, often framed as a monk, who's overpowered by Lābhasakkārasaṃyuttaṃ. That person cannot find peace in solitude. They can't find it under a tree or out in the open. They are restless, agitated. They keep falling into misfortune internally, wherever they are.
So it connects to that universal human need for peace, for stillness, and this pursuit actually destroys it.
Paradoxically, yes. Seeking external validation seems to promise happiness, but according to these texts, it actually strips away inner peace, leading to this constant agitation, this inability to just be.
A cycle of dissatisfaction.
Precisely.
Okay, now, if you want a really potent cautionary tale, the text provide this powerful, almost real-life example from their own history, the case study of Devadatta. It's presented as the ultimate path to self-destruction, isn't it?
It really is. It's like the ultimate case study in how this plays out fully. It shows the whole devastating trajectory.
And there's an analogy tied to him, too, about powerful winds.
Yes, the Varamba winds. These are described as incredibly powerful hurricanes, so strong they can catch a bird mid-flight and just scatter its body parts in all directions. Utter disintegration.
Grim.
Very. And this is compared to a person who, consumed by gain, honor, and praise, approaches a situation, maybe a community or a relationship with unguarded body, speech, mind, unestablished mindfulness, and unrestrained senses.
Basically, not mindful, not self-aware.
Right. Wide open to temptation because they're so focused on the external validation. For a monk, the example given is encountering an immodestly dressed woman. Lust arises because the senses aren't guarded.
And because the mind is already weakened by this other desire.
Exactly. He abandons his training, his commitments, and his spiritual possessions, his progress, his virtues are scattered, ruined, just like the bird in the hurricane. Complete disintegration of the self, spiritually speaking.
And then they bring up Devadatta explicitly. He's named as someone who was overpowered by gain, honor, and praise.
Yes, the texts are very clear on that being the root cause.
And it led him to cause a major schism in the early Buddhist community,
A
right?
huge split. And it said his roots of good qualities were completely cut off. He met his self-destruction.
And the analogies they use for his fate are also incredibly striking.
They don't hold back. They compare him to things in nature that are destroyed by their own fruition, like a banana tree.
Which dies after fruiting.
Exactly. Or bamboo, or a reed. They produce their fruit, their seeds, and that very act kills the parent plant.
So his achievements, his gains, were the cause of his downfall.
That's the powerful image, yes. Or like a mule, they say, that conceives but then dies from the pregnancy itself. The thing that seems like growth or propagation leads directly to destruction.
It's relentless, this critique. And then there's that specific detail about Prince Ajatasattu. He gave Devadatta massive support, didn't he?
Immense support, lavish patronage. The text mentioned 500 chariots and 500 meals being delivered daily. Huge resources.
You'd think that would empower someone, right? Make them flourish.
That's the logical assumption. But the truly shocking insight from the text is that this immense support actually led to Devadatta's decline in wholesome qualities. It didn't help him grow. It made him worse.
How do they explain that?
They use another animal analogy. It was like breaking a wild dog's nose would only make it fiercer.
So the support just fueled his arrogance, his negative tendencies.
It seems so. It poured gasoline on the fire of his craving for status and power, which was already burning because of the gain, honor, and praise.
Wow. So even things that look like help, like support, can be detrimental if the person is already compromised by this desire.
That's the crucial and perhaps quite subtle point. If someone is already internally compromised by this drive for external validation, even seemingly beneficial support can just accelerate their inner ruin. It feeds the craving rather than fostering genuine growth.
A really stark warning about how external validation can just feed a destructive cycle. So, okay, we've seen all these warnings, these dangers. What does this all mean for us today, beyond these ancient examples? Who is affected by this? Is it just monks or spiritual seekers?
Well, the texts themselves widen the scope.
Uh,
They actually differentiate between, let's say, true seekers, they use the terms ascetics, and Brahmins, who genuinely understand the gratification, the danger, and the way to escape from gain, honor, and praise.
they see it clearly.
Right. Versus those who don't understand its true nature.
Yeah.
So it's about awareness, first and foremost.
But does it affect everyone?
Here's where it gets really fascinating. The texts point out that even for an arahant,
Now remind us, an arahant is someone who's achieved a very high state, like enlightenment.
essentially, yes,
Right.
someone who has achieved liberation, profound inner freedom, the texts say that even for them, gain, honor, and praise are still considered an obstacle.
An obstacle, but they're already liberated, aren't they?
Yes, their ultimate freedom isn't threatened, but it's an obstacle to their present happy abiding. Their current state of peace and tranquility can still be disturbed by it.
Okay, that's a really important nuance. Even if you've made it, this stuff can still mess with your day-to-day peace.
That's the implication. It makes you think, doesn't it? If it can affect the inner peace of someone who's profoundly awakened, how much more susceptible might the rest of us be?
That really lands, wow. But they don't just leave us with warnings, do they? They must offer an alternative path.
They do. There's the contrasting image of the good person.
Okay, what characterizes them?
Their concentration, their inner focus, is described as unshaken by gain or dishonor. Whether people praise them or criticize them, they remain steady inside,
Stable.
very stable. They meditate constantly with subtle insight, really understanding the nature of things. And crucially, they find delight, real joy, not in getting praise, but in the destruction of clinging,
Yeah.
in letting go of those attachments.
So that's the antidote. Inner stability, insight, and letting go of the need for external approval.
Exactly. If you connect all these dots, it's clear this isn't just advice for monks thousands of years ago. It feels like a universal human principle.
Yeah.
The texts are showing how these powerful forces, gain, honor, praise, can corrupt even the best intentions, even high spiritual attainment. They impact everything from basic honesty to our deepest sense of peace.
So the key is understanding it, seeing the danger.
Understanding its true nature, acknowledging the danger, and actively cultivating an inner state that's independent of it. Finding that stability within, rather than chasing external validation that, as the texts show, can be a trap, can corrode you, and ultimately can even destroy you.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up for you listening. We've journeyed through these ancient texts and seen how they portray gain, honor, and praise, not as some kind of reward, but actually as a really treacherous trap.
Like a fishhook.
Or a thorn bush you get
Yeah.
tangled in. Or even like Devadatta, a fruit that leads to your own destruction.
Pretty strong imagery.
Definitely. They show it can make honest people lie, it can rob us of our inner peace, make us restless like that poor jackal, and even lead to a complete personal spiritual undoing. And the call to action seems really clear. Be vigilant. See it for what it is. Abandon the craving for it. Don't let it overpower your mind.
And what's so fascinating to me is the sheer depth of that warning. It's not just about, avoiding obvious temptations like fame or fortune. It's about how deeply, how subtly that basic human desire for external validation can corrode our very core.
Yeah, that point about honesty really hit home.
It raises a really important question for all of us, I think. If even people with the strongest principles can be swayed by this, and if even ultimate spiritual liberation doesn't make you immune to its effects on your present well-being,
Then what about us?
exactly, what hidden corners of our lives or decisions or motivations might be subtly shaped, maybe even driven by the pursuit or even just the quiet acceptance of gain, honor, and praise, even when we think we're acting from other motives?
That is definitely something to mull over as you navigate your world. A really powerful deep dive.
Indeed. Lots to think about there.